Wealth Nation, we don't want you to take any words from us regarding whole life insurance. We brought our friend along, Mr. Chris Kirkpatrick from the Life 180 channel, so that we can share everything that we think about this industry, products, family, spiritual, whatever it is. We're just going to talk about everything regarding our whole lives. So by the end of this video, you will learn much more about our dear friend, Chris Kirkpatrick.
How's it going, Chris? It's going awesome. I'm down here in the Dominican. We're about to be neighbors, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that background.
Yeah, and you know how many times people are like, "Is that a green screen?" And I'm like,
"No, that's my backyard, homie."
I'm in the jungle. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. That's why I wore my camo shirt for you today, just so I blend in.
Oh man, fantastic, Chris. Now, before we get too deep into just like our own personal conversation, because we just love chatting with you, go ahead and let our audience know basically who you are, Chris, and what the Life 180 channel is.
Oh, okay. So Life 180 is something that I created back in 2016. I used to be the director of business development for the top IUL company in the country. And so, that whole journey and experience was kind of crazy. But long story short, I left them because I realized that what I was selling wasn't in alignment with my values and my beliefs and how I wanted to really help and serve people. So I had kind of like this crisis of consciousness and had a lot of conversations with my wife and left that company, started Life 180. And the idea of Life 180 was a lot of people think Life 180 because we are a life insurance agency, but really it has nothing to do with life insurance at all. Life is an acronym for living intentionally for excellence. And the 180 is about turning the results in your life around, I love talking about money. I love whole life insurance. I love helping people. I talk about the 5 F's of life: the faith, family, fitness, finance, and freedom. And we could even add in like friends and friendships and fun and like all these different things that we like to talk about. But at the end of the day, I just believe our relationship with money is going to have a greater impact on all those other areas. Because if you think about like our spirituality and faith, whether it's, tithing to the church, having that financial ability to do so is great. Whether it's spiritual journeys, like, my wife and I travel a lot to do spiritual expeditions around the globe, doing different things like ayahuasca retreats and, just exploring and taking trips to, places and places that we haven't gone yet that are on the list. Like we really want to do a voyage to Israel, and we really want to these kinds of things. It takes money to really do that stuff, and so most marriages end because of financial stress. Like that is the number one cause of divorce, right? Like and at the end of the day, you can't have freedom without the financial wherewithal to have that freedom. And so I believe if we have money right as a tool and we understand what our values and beliefs are, what our goals and objectives are, the life that we want to live, then we realize that if we can help people with that 1 F of finances, then it has this spillover effect. It is like the foundational pillar that if we get it right, money is not the root of all evil. Money can actually make us, and we can leverage that money as a tool to create the life that we want to live and make a greater impact and live the lives that I believe that we're all called here to live, right? And so that's why we created Life 180. And I just happen to sell a lot of whole life insurance not because I'm in love with any product, but just because I believe from a foundational asset perspective, there's no other asset in the world that will help solve the problems that are in alignment with my values and my beliefs and what I believe most people are really seeking, that whole life insurance will do. So,
got it. Now, I love everything that you said, and what resonated with me is basically money is a tool or fuel to have the experience that you're supposed to have while we're here, right?
Totally.
Now, another thing that you mentioned is that you worked for an IUL company. And,
dun, dun, dun.
Well, just so I understand that you really enjoy the benefits of whole life insurance, but did you want to change because of how you were selling it? Because I know when working for a company, you have to have certain numbers and you have to do certain things to get these numbers and quotas. Call a list of people and have quotas. Sure. So was it the how or the what?
No, it's the what. Okay. I mean, I guess a little bit of both. I mean, the fact that I was the director of business development for the company, there were certainly quotas and it was a proprietary thing and whatever, but that was much less my issue, because I could sell whatever if I believe in it. My challenge was I had a lot of success for 4.5 years working with them because I believed in what I was doing, and then it hit this place where I had some people challenge me. Some people, when I say some people, some like OGs in the business that were whole life people that I was trying to convince they were missing the boat with whole life, that IUL was a far superior product and it was evolved and it was enhanced. And, I was selling the iPhone and they were selling a flip phone kind of deal. That was the argument,
Yep.
And they challenged me with some questions to think about where my values are, why I was selling the product of IUL, what problems I was trying to solve, and really look at the risks behind what I was actually selling. And when I broke it down and I started thinking about it, and then because I worked at the home office and I had access to the actuaries and the people, and I got to like sneak in some conversations I wasn't supposed to have in the cafeteria with the actuaries and like all this stuff, and corner some people that, they didn't really want me talking to. I realized like, wow, this isn't what I thought it was. And when that happened, it's for me, everything unraveled really quickly, and I could no longer authentically and ethically and morally for myself, like if I don't believe in it, I can't sell anybody else,
right,
on it. And so I just I started getting really bad at my job, and I started questioning, and I started saying like I started going to leadership and management of like C-level management and the head of the career channel for the company. I started saying, hey, listen, this is what I'm saying and training IUL agents, in the company. This is how I'm training them to sell, because this is what you guys are telling me I have to say. The problem is if I say this, we're leaving out all of this, all these other elements. And if you want me to continue doing this, I can't ethically and morally tell them that this is just how it works when there's all these consequences over here. I'm okay if people want to take the risk if they understand what risks they're actually taking. And right now what we're doing is we're miseducating a lot of agents, and a lot of clients are buying based on misinformation and misrepresentation. And that's going to lead to a lot of people getting hurt. And I just can't do that. And they basically said, if you even try to position and educate people on all that, it'll hurt sales. And therefore, it's just, you're not allowed to do it. They basically threatened to fire me. And so within a week or so, I quit. I just couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Now, Chris, I'm so glad that we're having this conversation, and we didn't mean to go on a IUL tangent.
You started it because you said you used to work for an IUL company.
Yeah, I know. I can't help it. It always goes here.
That is nowhere in our list of like interview questions for you. So
that's not in the bio.
However, what we also want to do is we want to continue to educate our audience, right? Because we have these discussions too, whole life versus IUL. And we never have sold one IUL product, full transparency. We've never sold it. Thank you.
It's because we don't own one.
Yeah, totally.
We don't own one. And I love what you said, because the other thing to note is like, if we are doing this whole life insurance thing ourselves, and we want to support and elevate our family and the things that we're doing, like if there was another product out there that would do better than whole life, wouldn't we be doing it like all day long? And so, we continue to have this debate with potential clients and aspiring clients where, like you said, they're like, no, this is the iPhone and you're selling a flip phone. I love that analogy. And it's like, we've done the research. We're in the industry. And to your point, we have also been educated by some OGs in the game that helped us really understand the differences. And we've been able to use their experience because they can even show us from their own policies. Like, look, what one of our mentors actually kept 2 universal life policies just so that he could train people and show them the growth and how it's actually performed over the years, as opposed to his traditional whole life policies. And this is like a 20-30-year-old policy that's holding on by a thread. So anyways, I'd love to know from your perspective, what are some of the things that people are missing? When I say people, the average Joe who is looking for life insurance, what are some of those buzzwords and things that life insurance agents can maybe steer them in a different direction and mislead what's happening with IUL?
Well, I think first and foremost, the whole story of IUL is participating in the market without a chance of loss, And so the idea, I'm a big believer, you got to ask why with anything, right? So like why and how are we able to accomplish this? And when you really start to understand the flow of money, whether it's in a whole life policy or in an index universal life chassis product, it's all the same. I mean, like if we kind of do both things together, what will happen is the money goes in, we pay a premium, and let's say we pay the premiums kind of similarly. Whole life would be base, IUL would be target premium, right? And then the overfunding would be the PUAs, or just the overfunding premium in the IUL. And so a portion of the premium is going to go towards cost of insurance, fees, so on and so forth. And then a portion of it's going to go to cash value and stuff of that nature. The difference is when you put your money in a whole life policy, you're participating in the success with the life insurance company. You're basically saying, hey, life insurance company, I have this safe money. I want it. I have all these areas. I'm not going to use you to get rich, but I want you to be the foundation of my life, And with that, I want access to that money. I want you to beat inflation long term. I have these attributes that I want, and it's just a form of leverage to get our dollars to perform multiple functions, right? Like that's really what we're doing. And when you put your money in a participating whole life policy, then you are partnering with the company. Contractually speaking, with whole life, the company's obligation is to make you whole before anything else. That's what the guarantees are all about, right? So that's that. Now, when we look at the IUL, and I know you didn't ask that part, but the IUL side, I had to kind of set the stage.
Yep.
You're taking the strength of what all these life insurance companies have done for, we talk about like 180 years of success. I always say like IUL is bastardizing the success that whole life has had, because all these agents are saying, well, come work with this company because, these insurance companies have been doing this forever. No, they haven't. They've been doing IUL since 1997. And if you look at the results IUL has had since then, or if you want to go back before IUL and look at traditional UL from 1981 until 1990, or till today, even, because there are some UL products still out there, it has never really gone well. The lapse rate is like out of this world. The thing to understand here is that what you're doing in an IUL is you're taking what the insurance company, and I'm keeping this like very simple,
Please.
But you're taking effectively, let's say you put your money in an IUL, rather than putting it in a whole life where the company would give you a dividend, right? And that dividend's going to come in as long as the company's profitable and you're partnering with the company and their success equals your success. That company now, instead of paying you a dividend, you're saying, all right, rather than giving me that dividend, let's speculate with that dividend and go buy options, right? Let's just go buy options with it. Let's buy call options in the S&P 500 or the PIMCO index or the Zebra Edge index or whatever, like garbage index, that you want to do with those proprietary indexes, whatever, they're all junk. But the idea is you're speculating through buying options. And to me, like, I just like to ask people, like, why are you putting your money into a life insurance policy in general? You're not doing it to speculate. You're doing it to build a financial foundation. And so if you understand, if you're like an options trader and you're super savvy with that and you understand options inside out and you evaluate all the disclaimers in the IUL illustration and you're comfortable with the risks and you feel you have the sophistication to navigate that on your own, God bless you, good luck, have fun, But that is maybe like 0.1% of all people that will ever buy, you know what I mean? And so I'm not saying there's not a use case in certain situations. There are ways to do IUL where IUL can actually be a better potential solution for certain people for a legacy play. If you add guaranteed insurability riders and all this stuff, and you're never going to touch the cash value and all this stuff, you can get a little more leverage on the death benefit play. You can move some things around. There's some things you can do, and it's great. But I just know that like 99% of the time, with looking at the full spectrum view of like all the reasons people want a whole life insurance policy or a life insurance policy in general, we don't look at the name of the policy, just look at the attributes, look at the risks, look at like the flow of money and how these things are actually being accomplished inside the moving parts. and you realize whole life is what it comes down to. And I guess I'll just end with, like, if you think the life insurance company can get you that high of a rate of return compared to what they're doing for themselves without much more risk, and they could do it safely, why wouldn't they be doing it for themselves, right? If they can get you a 40 or 50% greater return than they're doing in their general fund, why wouldn't they just be doing it for themselves? If they can do it, you know, on a predictable basis, the answer is they can't. And so we just got to use common sense to, like, really work it through a whole process, and you come to this conclusion. But most people, you know, I went through Brennan Burchard's high performance training program, right? And he always would say, is like, common sense is very seldomly common practice, right? So here we go.
Thank you for breaking that down.
Right. And you know, when I think about the idea of common sense, it really depends on your upbringing, a lot of it, because what's common sense for me financially is different from what common sense is for Carmen based on how you grew up. So
totally,
how do you have that conversation with a potential person that's asking you these questions when they don't have the foundation that you would you need to make good financial decisions?
That's such a good question and good comment. Like, because it's hard for me to be critical, right, of IUL agents, because I was one for 4.5 years. I like ate the bait hook, line, sinker, and was all in on it until I wasn't, right? And one of the reasons that I create so much IUL content right now, people rail on me all the time. It's like, why can't you just focus on whole life? Why do you got to be focused on IUL so much? It's because, like, I'm creating the content that I wish I had when I first started in the business, right? I know it's not everybody's going to follow along, but I look at, have you guys ever heard of the 4 levels of awareness? You got the unconsciously incompetent, consciously incompetent, and then you're like consciously competent and unconsciously competent, right? So, like, unconsciously incompetent is you don't know what you don't know. And so I look at this, and that, like, we're all unconsciously incompetent about something in our life. We don't know what we don't know, right? And my mindset with this is, like, when it comes to IUL, my heart and my belief is that most people that are selling IUL are not selling it to deceive people. They're not selling it to screw people over. They're doing what they think is best because they don't know what they don't know. They're exactly where I was 2-3 years into my journey of selling IUL, and they believe what they're doing, but they don't have enough history to actually know that it's the best thing from a long-term perspective, because it takes 4 or 5 years to really let these things play out, to really kind of see, to begin to even see how they can unravel. And so, unfortunately, a lot of times by the time they realize, it's too late. And so now you are, as an agent, like, let's say you're 4, 5, 6 years into this, and you've sold 100-something policies, and you've got all these clients and your friends and family on the hook, and now you realize that it's not what you thought it was. Now you got to have a lot of hard conversations, and you got to, like, be somebody of strong moral character to actually do the right thing. And so my mission is to be able to save the IUL agents earlier in their career, to save relationships and to save friendships and to save, like, all this stuff. But, you know, to answer your question really directly, is, like, I don't ever try to convince anybody of anything. My job is to just kind of take people through those 4 stages. You're unconsciously incompetent when you probably first come across my content about IUL, about whole life, about whatever. Same thing when people come onto your stuff, right? Like, a lot of times they don't know what they don't know, and your only job is to, like, let them know that this thing exists, right? And now they're consciously incompetent. They know it exists, they just don't know much about it, right? And so that's when, you know, a certain percentage of the people that get to that stage are going to want to go deeper down the rabbit hole. They're going to do their research, and you know, then they'll go through the evolution of awareness. And I just believe, as people do that, and if we just looked at that as our job as coaches in this space, is not to sell people things, but just bring them from one stage to the next, and be able to be there to help people solve problems, and be a resource to help people have answers to the questions that they have. And yeah, that's kind of like our model, and the way I love to create content and handle things, and that's it.
Yeah, we really operate as a guide.
Yeah,
we really operate as a guide as people go through those different phases of awareness, to say, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is what I have.
Yep.
Based on your situation, this is what you have, and this is what you can do. What decision do you want to make?
Yep.
Based on the information that you've collected. Now, the the opportunity that we have is when people come to us without doing any research of their own. They look for us to give them all the information and make them aware of everything that they need to know, when it really doesn't always work in your favor to do that, because you don't have literally any skin in the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I was going to say to that point, well, first, Chris, I want to commend you for everything that you're doing and the information that you're sharing, especially as it relates to IULs. And like you said, trying to teach the agents who are coming up in the game and just really getting them to understand.
You taught us a lot.
Yeah, we've learned a ton from you. Yeah. I don't know if you know that or not, but yes.
Yeah, we've been on your channel like crazy, and some of the way you say things, it goes to that foundation of where you came from, and that foundation of education, financial education, that we really appreciated and wanted to do in our own content.
Yeah, because even now, every now and then we're like, what are we missing? There has to be something we're missing, right? And then we keep going back and we're like, okay, no, this is where it is. And I love what you said. It goes back to just asking why. And we're totally going to take that, because when you think about, the type of individual who wants to invest, who wants to have an investment opportunity, then the conversation is, what are you using life insurance to do that for? Why are you using something that simulates what's happening in the market? Essentially, just go do the real thing, and so that's essentially the conversation that we're having, and I'm so glad that you're shedding light on this, because we know personally many agents that are in the industry that are exactly where you are, Chris, right? Where you said they're in limbo because they're recognizing, like, man, I'm 5 years in the game, and now my clients are calling me going, hey, what's happening to these guarantees? And they're trying to figure out how they're going to have these conversations. And so I can only imagine being in that position of just recognizing, like, this wasn't what I had planned to sell to my clients.
Yeah. I mean, they don't know what they don't know, and they do it, and then they find themselves in a bit of a pickle, right? And so it becomes a hard thing to unwind. And unfortunately, like, you're going to have a choice to make if you're an agent in that position where you're going to have to eat crow. Like, I'll tell you this, when I was 4.5 years in, I'd sold millions of dollars of premium. And I had 163 clients that I had to have really hard conversations with. And a lot of those clients were really close friends. A lot of them lost money based on my suggestions because of surrender charges. Even though I was designing for max cash value and all that stuff, the surrender charges are legitimate. And, some damaged relationships in a way, but, like, I couldn't control that. I'm a big believer we can only do the best we can from here forward with the information that we have. And when we have new information, we have a moral obligation to act accordingly, right? That means sometimes you got to make some tough, do some tough things. And that just is what it is. But, like, that is the responsibility of this business. When people are entrusting you with their financial well-being and coaching them and expecting you to be the expert. Listen, none of us are perfect. We're all learning things as we go. Some of us are, in different places and further ahead and have more information than others and, like, whatever. But anybody that tells you they got it all figured out perfectly right now is lying to you. You don't ever. We're all just figuring this game out as we go, and we're all coming across new information, and we're all evolving beings, right? We're all changing and growing and learning, and that's the way it should be, But with that, sometimes mistakes happen, and so when you make mistakes, don't try to hide from them. Just own them and move forward. Do the best you can from that point forward.
And that's what growth is. Growth is all about, learning from the opportunities and moving forward.
And and speaking of learning, we know that we're in a position where we teach people about life insurance and their journey to financial freedom. One thing that I like to do, I like to look at my life as a movie, and I'm the star of the movie. And I can see where I am in my journey by my co-stars, right?
Totally.
So if I do an inventory of the people around me at any given time, I can understand, like, okay, I might need to think better about different things.
Elevate your thoughts.
Elevate my thoughts. Now, there's also people who I reach towards, especially in this industry, very successful people, not in the industry, but people that have tons of money that I can access. Who are some of the people that you put yourself in rooms with to have conversations to elevate your thought about finances?
You know, I love to put myself around people that, well, not a lot of them don't even have names. Like, I'll tell you, like, the first person that I ever learned from was a guy named Corky, of all things. That wasn't his real name, but everybody called him Corky. I was down in Clearwater, Florida at the time, and he owned a bowling alley just outside of Tampa. And I didn't know this is actually the first guy that kind of challenged me when I was trying to sell him on IUL, and he was a whole life policy owner, right? And I couldn't convert him to IUL at all. And he started like really pushing back on why. He's like, I've looked into it. It's just not going to work for me, whatever. And he's basically like, you're really cool, Chris, but stop bothering me with this, you know, kind of deal. And, you know, come to find out, he was he's worth like $20 million, had businesses, and for him, whole life insurance was a foundation. So that got me thinking, like, okay, if this guy's doing it, I was always like told, like, if you want to be successful in life, find the people who have the life that you want to live and emulate that. It's not a matter of like, how much money do you have? To me, it's all lifestyle. You guys talk about it all the time. Own your lifestyle. Like, you know, that's one of the reasons my wife and I bought an eco retreat center, and, you know, we're down here in the Dominican, and, you know, doing what we're doing is like, it's not about money. Money is a fun tool. Money is a fun resource that you can deploy and utilize to create all the things and make the impact that you want to make and all that stuff. But to me, the lifestyle is everything. And you know, I want to find people, and we get ourselves in rooms with the people like Brendon Burchard. We join masterminds with people like Brendon Burchard, and we do the things like Dean Graziosi and go to Tony Robbins events. And, you know, you just surround yourself with people who are in those environments that are on the same path. And, you know, I just kind of lived life through the lens of like, feel the fear. We have a saying in our family, feel the fear and do it anyway, you know? And it's like,
I like that.
Fear is normal, like, and too many people back down from it. And it's like, you want to make calculated, educated decisions and responsible, you know, you don't want to take on too much risk. But I feel like one of the reasons I love whole life insurance is it kind of becomes that filter to let you know, like, when can I take the risk, and can I do it safely without putting everything that I have and love and that's dear to me at risk, right? Can I do that? And that's amazing that you can have that foundational asset that will provide that kind of filter for you to make your decisions through. But, you know, it's just surrounding yourself with the people that are thinking and that see the world through the same lens. Because, like, listen, the world is broken. Like, the financial system is broken, the medical system is broken. Like, and if you go around and you talk to people, you'll be like, hey, what do you feel about politics and the government? They're gonna be like, they're all crooks, and they're all like, nobody trusts them. What do you think about the medical system and all that? No, I don't trust it. What do you think about, you know, the Federal Reserve and monetary policy and debt and all this stuff? No, that's no good. Like, everybody knows that the system is broken, yet they just keep on following what everybody is trained to do. It's like, if you want different results, you have to think differently. You have to do things differently. You have to surround yourself with people that are living intentionally for excellence and trying to live a life that they want to live, and be intentional about creating that life. Because if you're not intentional about creating the life that you want to live, you're going to live somebody else's plan for your life. And that's not going to allow you to live your fullest potential.
100%.
Got goosebumps all over there, brother Chris.
95%. Because I got a question about the system being broken. Is it the system broken, or is it the people not knowing how to use the system? Because I feel like there's a lot of lights and bells that go off that suggest to me what financial decisions I need to make. But you have to be aware to know, like, what that bell and that light mean.
Well, so by the system being broken, I would say yes to both, right? Like, it's I would say there are too many moral hazards built into the system, and too many conflicts of interest built into the system. And so what happens is, unless you're really intentional, listen, there's ways we can game the system, right? Like, and if you know the rules to the game, then yeah, absolutely. Like, we can win, right? Like, anybody can win the game. Like, nobody is incapable of learning. It's just harder for some others because people don't know what they don't know. And so you need to get yourself around the right people to learn the right information. You need to dedicate the time and the resources and the energy. And some people don't have, quite frankly, the intellectual capacity to do so. You know, maybe their EQ and IQ are too low. I'm not saying that judgmentally at all. That's just reality, right? Like, maybe they're not surrounded by the right people. They don't have access to the right people. They don't have the resources to go to the right events to get in front of them. So that's challenging. And so to me, that's a conflict. And what I do know though, is that I just look at the system being broken because it's like we are not empowered. The system is not set up to educate you and empower you. It's set up to kind of make you be like a battery in the machine. You know what I mean? And unless you are a profit center for the machine breaks.
Yeah.
And so what you need to do is stop being a battery and then create your own power system and go do your own thing and go off grid. You know what I mean? And you can do that. And that's why I love the whole becoming your own banker thing, even though I'm not the purest of pure Nelson Nashites and all that stuff, whatever. But I do. What's that?
No, I was repeating what you were saying. You said Nelson Nashite.
I love the man. I love everything they stood for and preached, but I think there's more to it from a holistic perspective than that. Yeah. I love a lot of what they preach, but I think there is more to it than just what they speak to, and they're a bit dogmatic in some of their perspectives for me personally, and that doesn't mean I don't agree with them. It's just the positioning matters to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I look at it and I just say, hey, if you want to live an exceptional life, and if you want to live a life that's different, like a differentiated life, then you have to live your life differently than everybody else. You can't do what 95% of the people in the world are doing and expect to have different results. You just can't. Input equals output, and
right.
That's a principle that's non-negotiable, right. And so you just have to ask yourself, what are you about? What do you want? You got to begin with the end in mind, reverse engineer a plan to get there. Think about what are your values and what are your beliefs? What are your goals and objectives? And if we think about money as a tool to accomplish the life that we want to live, and I say this all the time, is probably the number one reason I see people failing with money is, I'm talking about it a lot in my new book that I have coming out, is your money is not in alignment with your values and beliefs. And there's a great book called The Ant and the Elephant. Vincent Pacenti is an Olympic downhill skier, wrote it. And it's all about this fable about the ant and the elephant. So when we make a conscious decision, 4 million neurons are firing off in our brains, right? When we make a subconscious thought, like our habits and the things that we've just been programmed over the years, 4 billion neurons are firing off a second. So we all know people that do their New Year's resolution. They want to get healthy. They want to do a budget. They want to quit smoking. They want to do all this stuff. And then a month in, they quit on that. It's because they're consciously trying to override their subconscious. If we want to be able to accomplish what we want to accomplish and really change our lives and our trajectory, we need to shift our why. We need to reshift our subconscious. We need to basically reprogram our own internal self-identity, to be able to understand what direction we're going to go, and to be able to really make a change. Because if you don't, well, then you're never going to get where you want to go, period. And if we think about it, our money, if we think about what we believe about the world, politics, government, medical system, financial system, all this stuff, and then you look at what you're doing with your money currently, and if you did an audit as to, is my money in alignment with what I believe, and you did a checks and balances, like a T-chart, you'd be so out of balance, you realize, and no wonder subconsciously you're self-sabotaging with your money constantly, because deep down, even though you haven't thought about it, your money is not in alignment with what you actually believe. And so your subconscious is constantly going to be destroying any potential you have a chance of success, because they know it doesn't believe that you have a chance at being successful doing what you're currently doing. So then subconsciously you go well, that's not going to work. So might as well just enjoy life right now. And I'm going to spend the money. I'll go in debt, rack money on that credit card, do this, do that, enjoy that trip. I don't need to be responsible. You know what? I'll deal with that later. It doesn't matter. It's not going to work anyway. All this stuff, rather than taking the time to take a step back and think about all right, what do I actually value? What do I believe? How do I get the information I need to have to be able to actually align my money with my values and beliefs, get to utilize my money as a tool to accomplish the life that I want to live? That's the secret. It's getting clear about what you value and believe. What are your core values? What is your life mission statement? What is your vision statement for your life? Have you thought about legacy planning? Have you thought about all these things? And when you really come from there, reverse engineering it from there and figuring out what tools you need to utilize financially to accomplish all that becomes really, really easy. But it starts with values and vision and mission and all that stuff. It doesn't start with what Wall Street wants you to think about, like getting a great rate of return. Like, like, you know what I mean? Like, so that's it.
I mean, Chris, I'm still like reeling from don't become a battery. Like I just, everything that you said has just been so on point, and it's just such a confirmation for Darius and I, because these are conversations we have amongst ourselves in our own household, and everything that you're saying is just confirming and the things that we believe, right? I'm just so glad that we're getting to know each other and establish this relationship, right? Because our families are in alignment with everything that we're doing, and what you're speaking is what we say, right? Live intentionally, own your own lifestyle. It's all the same thing. And I love what you said is about, like, you know, following the lifestyle. That's what we've always done, right? Those are the rooms of the people that we also want to get in. We're like, what is their lifestyle like? And you can quickly figure out, like, okay, where are my values? Where do I want to be? And I'm just going to give a very simple explanation of like a financial decision that Darius and I made. So $300 a month, right? That this is about thinking consciously. Darius and I were a little fluffy, right? I'll speak for myself, right? So we know we need to get in the gym, and we're like, we're going to go to Lifetime Fitness because we know that that's an elevated place where we can network, we can get, you know, we can meet with people, and we can get jacked, right? So that's the plan. Then we almost go to sign up, and we're like, okay, it's $300 a month, right? No big deal. $100 a year. Yeah. And then we get back and we're like, wait, we do a lot of traveling. We're not around really long enough to be in this gym. You know, we have a 4-year-old, and, you know, our schedules are all over the place. So when are we actually going to get our asses in the gym? And then we just went back to like, this is now going to become an expense because it didn't align really with the values that we've created for ourselves.
On top of, we have a at-home gym.
Yeah, that too. I forgot that one little point. So the point was, we created this home gym so that it could be convenient for us to get our workouts in where we needed to, and it was cost effective, right? We invested the money, put it in the home gym, and we're still looking at, you know, externally. And again, it just goes back to, it's $300 a month. What are you looking at right now, Wealth Nation, Life 180 family? What are you looking at right now that is not in alignment with your values? What purchase are you about to make that is going to skew whatever it is that you're doing, right? Because it's not necessarily the big cost implications, it's death by 1,000 cuts.
Totally.
So what are we doing? What conscious conversations are we having with ourselves to move the ship in the direction that we want, where we can own our lifestyle and create that freedom that we're looking for?
Yeah.
Well, and the thing I'll say also to that is that it's also important to I mean, it's amazing that you guys do this together. My wife and I do this together. You know, I know we saw each other last week in Utah at a Health is Wealth event, right? And so we're obviously like all in on this, like living this intentional life for all these reasons. But it's important to also do an audit on a regular basis, and to have that open dialogue with your partner, with a mentor, with people you trust, for that accountability, because like we're all humans, right? Like it's, we all like start going a path, and then there's like, we slowly go off course. And that's just like, you know, whether it's like shiny object syndrome or whatever, like it happens. And so it's important to like give yourself grace when you don't do it perfectly. It's like, don't self-ridicule, don't self-lash, don't like beat yourself up over it. Just notice it, identify it, and course correct and go back in the right direction, and fix it, because it's always there. Nobody's ever going to walk a straight line. We're always going to be kind of coming back, you know, going back and forth. And we want to walk a straight line, and the straighter we can make it, the more quickly our results are going to come. But nobody's perfect, and we're all going to make mistakes along the way, no matter what.
Right.
Thank you for saying that. Yes, course correction is all about this journey, right? We're flying a plane. Sometimes we have to course correct. There's turbulence. We go around it. We do what we got to do. But that's life, and it's ever evolving. So thank you for sharing that.
Totally.
Right. Well, Chris, I want to thank you so much for your time today. We actually had an opportunity to talk a little bit before the call, and we forgot that we had a recording to do. So that's what I really appreciate about the conversations we were able to have with you, not just you but just your amazing wife, Hannah. I told Carmen, like, I know the best part of me is her. Yep. And after meeting your wife, I realized that joy and that smile that you have, where that comes from. So please tell her we said hello.
I will.
Yeah, and we just really appreciate your time, and we'll get a chance to see you not just here, but we'll see you soon in Dominican Republic.
Yeah, man, I'm excited about that. I'm excited to have you guys down here. I'm excited to collab with you guys more because obviously we see the world through the same lens. And I think too often in this business, people think scarcely and they want to like protect their own thing and like whatever. And my mindset is like, let's just like what the information that we have to offer is too important and we have too many people to help. And if we just think abundantly, I'd rather make the pie bigger than worry about like keeping my little piece of the pie. You know what I mean? And
100%.
And I feel like if we all collaborate and come together and intermingle all that stuff in ways that I just believe in the law of reciprocity. If you just give it out, like it's going to come back to you, even in ways that you may not even realize are going to happen. You know what I mean? It just all, the world has a way of energetically balancing all that stuff out, you know, and that's just the way I see it. And so I'm excited to do this. And honestly, Hannah and I are launching a new podcast too, as you guys know. And so we got to have you guys on as a couple interviewing for that. That'll be fun.
You already know. Just let us know. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. And Wealth Nation, we hope that you have learned so much from Chris. We are going to have him back on again because we didn't even go through the list of questions that we actually wanted to ask you, Chris.
Serious.
We have to just do this again. Awesome. Wealth Nation, remember to own your own lifestyle.
Or someone else will.